So I'm still working through a lot of the past. I'm still working through a lot of the past to really help heal the future and help me go forward in the future. I'm trying to heal a lot of the past and work with it, work through some of it within my present, trying to heal more of the future. Because there was a lot of stuff that went down that had happened, and there were some like key situations that had went down with certain relationships and stuff. But then there were other relationships they kind of happened, and I kind of dismissed them because it was just like, well, I'm not interested. Bye, sorry, and it was just like, etc. But um as many people don't know, as I was once friends with Joseph Arthur. I was once friends with Joseph Arthur, and it was because of like a stepfather figure who took me and my mom to New York to see Joseph Arthur and stuff like that. And then there was somebody I knew here from a gallery I was volunteering at the time. I was sweeping and mopping their floor and stuff, and I was volunteering and stuff, and I was trying to do it to help me get a job and stuff, and I ended up staying with them and stuff, but the job stuff never ended up going through the right situation and stuff because of stuff that had happened with just happened. And like when I first moved into my first apartment, which just got blown out of proportion and helped bring down my illness and some other situations and stuff that weren't very good, where in some of those situations, I also chose to be a fuck boy, and I also chose to go around and mess with a bunch of women's hearts, and jump from one woman to the next after I felt like she wasn't satisfying me. So I jumped from one woman to the next, and really bad situation. But this was all because of a one particular person that I had my heart set on, and I kind of was rejected because I wasn't, obviously I can't, they were from another country and I couldn't go to their country and etc. But the thing is, we weren't getting along to begin with, and I ignored a lot of like toxic flags. I ignored a lot of toxic flags and a lot of toxicity and stuff. Where I've ignored a lot of toxic flags and stuff, but um, granted, it helped me kind of lead up to certain things that kind of had finally taken, or kind of helped finally taken, the Joseph Arthur relationship I had with Joseph, which was almost a very like real and personal one, where I was almost like really good friends with Joseph Arthur. But Joseph Arthur really had to dismiss me at one point because of the situation and me overreacting and kind of vocalizing some things to him that were just a lot more than just anger. So Joseph and I kind of had to separate personally between each other and I. But I've always kind of held on to Joseph as a big inspiration and influence as my artwork and stuff, despite the fact, because he still chose to be very kind to me and etc. And said to me, "Well, I'm glad you're seeking to find some help for your mental health, and I'm glad you're seeking to try to get your life in order and trying to go seek some people who can help you and." Just try to, and stuff like that, which I did, and it's taken me several years to really grasp a bunch of different things, but, um, it was a big situation where I tried to go down to freaking Canada to see this girl in Canada, and I was like somebody else who I friended on Facebook who was a Joseph Arthur fan, and part of my heart really got attached and wanted to call it love, but really it wasn't love because they didn't really want to love me back, and I was attached, and I let it almost drive me nuts because it was just at some point it just turned into toxicity. Whatever it was, it just turned into complete toxicity and shit like that, which pretty much took the relationship I would have had with Joseph Arthur and dumped it on its head. So granted, also, I wasn't in my right mind of thinking and stuff like that when I overreacted and said some things to him. But some of those things were also being fueled by the fact that this girl from Canada was like, well, he asked me and my friend out, or he asked me out with my friend, and, etc., and after the show, and blah, 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 and, I kind of wanted to believe her and stuff, and then I kind of, Joseph has always had a way with lyrics, and I didn't really want to think much of it at first, but Joseph has always had a way with lyrics. And, he had Foreign Girls, which I kind of was thinking, yeah, it's a cool track, but at the same time, it kind of makes it sound like that this girl's just going to be used as some type of sexual object or something because of the way he wrote the poem, that so foreign girls can be used as sexual objects or slaves or whatever else you want to call them. But um, it's a good song. Foreign Girls is a good song. It sounds like a Lou Reed tune, but at the same time, it's also speaking for Joseph when he was looking at two foreign girls in the park and he was thinking these things and writing them down in a poem, which um, really, kind of speaks for the fact of how he views women from other countries. But this the thing is, Americans view a lot of women from other countries in a different manner. They always view women in kind of like a very some certain women in a very sexual manner. I mean, let's put it this way. I think there's a lot of adult entertainment out there that kind of has to do with ethnicities and things from other countries and stuff that really uh, speak for the volumes of how some people kind of view women from other countries that are not necessarily culturally, well, some people might not find culturally appropriate or etc. But granted, I don't think he was totally finding this girl that I was friends with and I really kind of had a heart for and stuff culturally appropriate. But I don't really know the situation per se. That was another country, and he meets loads and loads of people. He was right about that when he came to me and said, "I don't know who or what you're talking about. I meet loads of people, and I'm sorry for your pain or whatever else you were feeling." But um, I kind of got kind of tricked and kind of my mind played with to the point where I kind of overreacted and said a lot more to Joseph Arthur than just stuff out of anger. And Joseph could have probably, Joseph probably could have pressed charges on me probably back in, what was it, like 2012, 2011, and Joseph didn't. Joseph was like, I understand your pain and I understand what it's like to struggle and stuff. I hope you're going to do good. I appreciate your love for my music and art and I wish you the best. And I just have to distance myself and etc. But, Joseph and I we're almost really good friends and stuff. And Joseph and I haven't been really good friends for a very long time. But yet I was holding on to his music and his art still as an inspiration and stuff. But as I said before, is like the lyrics have kind of grown into a lot of questionable stuff. I mean, at first, the first thing that kind of made me, one of the first things that made me overreact was when his poem Travel as Equals came out. Travel as Equals came out, which was a poem he wrote, and it made me kind of overreact to him in a way because I thought that Travel as Equals was kind of written about me and my situation about trying to go to another country and kind of being denied because it wasn't equally felt or something like that or something along those lines where I was just denied from going into another country and going to meet this girl that I actually had so much, almost had so much love for and respect for, but turns out that she really had no love or respect for me, and she had another family, and she had a kid, and all this other stuff going on. So, and then at the one point she thought I was absolutely nuts or crazy because I started coming down with my mental illness, which my mental illness, it's an auditory hallucination, but it all sounds like her. For people who don't know my situation, I have like a mental illness where I kind of hear things occasionally, which kind of is part of my disability. But it's like one of those situations where the situation got so bad enough between me and her that it's like she became part of my disability and she became a very big personal scar into my disability, into what I feel and what I have to deal with. But I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, and I've learned to really cope with my scars and my illness and stuff, and I have learned to put certain people in certain situations and things in the past, and I'm not really looking to rekindle anything with that person or looking to rekindle anything if they show up, and if they showed up in Torrington, it's going to be pretty much like possibly me just either ignoring them or possibly me just giving them a piece of my mind. I guess it's all going to depend on the day, but um, it's just like the whole situation kind of was really turned out to be really toxic and really kind of like a heart and deal breaker. Granted, at the same time, it also had affected my family, and it also had affected the relationship between my mom, me, and a stepfather figure, because the stepfather figure took me down to Canada to try to go down there and try to go meet this girl, and my mom was against it and stuff, and she didn't think it was well planned and etc. So my mom was freaking out and etc. But um, this girl pretty much played me and stuff, and just really kind of took Joseph Arthur with her. Granted, I wasn't sent to jail or nothing, but Joseph Arthur and I had just had a lot of problems, and I don't think a lot of people were happy. I don't think my friend at the art gallery was very happy with me either. And at some point, I thought I was hearing things like, "Oh, my friend's very upset and etc." Because, she found out that me and Joseph were on the fence and stuff. But then again, that friend and stuff had died, so that friend and stuff had died and moved out, had died and stuff as the point, right around the point where I started changing with my mental illness and stuff and not feeling right. So they had happened to die, and I think I took that very hard, as well as a lot of other things that were going on that really kind of affected my mental health. Um, but Joseph stayed a lot longer than anticipated. I really wanted to hold on to Joseph because Joseph really, I don't know, I know Joseph kind of was very surprised. He even said it himself. He was very surprised that me and Joseph had that fallout over a woman, that I really kind of let a woman kind of take my dreams and kind of take my situation with those dreams. But over the years, I've kind of learned a lot about Joseph Arthur, and I kind of learned a lot that he's human too, and he goes through mental health issues and stuff too. And I think if I would have stayed with Joseph Arthur and stuff, eventually we would have been torn apart anyways because of our mental health issues or something like that, where the situation could have been even worse for me and Joseph compared to possibly how it was from a distance. But um, Joseph did kind of, have some issues and things going on with family issues and trying to grow, and with different things of his growth and his ability to change and evolve. And as of the last couple of months, Joseph has had a kid. He has a kid now, and he has a kid, and he's not with that girl from Canada, but he's with some other girl, and he has a kid. And he's also kind of went from Democrat to Republican, which I don't really like or respect, because he went from Democrat to Republican, and I don't really kind of respect that, because a lot of the Republicans hold a lot of values and things that I don't really agree with, because a lot of them are against certain free will choices about, certain rights and stuff that I still want to believe in, and certain values and things, and some of them get kind of too religious and too, conservative to really, really respect, or, have really my respect or value. But neither Democrats nor Republicans have my respect or value this year, because I just look at both of them and I say, I just say a lot of things, and I look at them and say, Democrats and Republicans don't have my respect. I mean, if there was a independent party that I could maybe vote for, I might do that. Either that, or I'm not going to vote at all, because it's like, I just like who. It doesn't matter who's in there. It's going to be the same old thing. The Democrats don't like the Republicans. The Republicans don't like the Democrats, and a lot of people just choose the Democrats and the Republicans. A lot of people don't always vote independent and stuff, because they want to vote for the Democrats and the Republicans. It's always been that way. So, um, but no, Joseph went Republican and stuff, and Joseph also had written some other lyrics, which besides Travelers Equals, which could have been just a poem inspired by about the struggle and stuff that he saw me go through and stuff with this, trying to go to another country and being able to travel to another country and trying to find a way free and try to be free and stuff like that. There was a actual particular set of lyrics, probably within the last 4 to 5 years, which was on the Arthur Buck record, which was basically about, which was actually basically about, you know, which was actually called Before Your Love Is Gone. And Before Your Love Is Gone actually kind of has a striking resemblance to me, you know. I think he actually kind of called me an idiot. I don't know if he was talking about God or Jesus, because somebody said he was talking about God or Jesus, but or he was talking about maybe him about himself. But somebody, you know, he was writing these lyrics and saying something about like idiot child, you know. It's been a while before you've heard of a voice to turn the white light gray, and you know, and talking about burning the Bible and something about the junkie and what the junkie might say inside of you. And, you know, it kind of made me feel kind of very close to like a very personal issue between me being in recovery and me trying to kind of, you know, be in a place where I was at, where I was trying to work very hard on being an artist and stuff to honor Joseph after everything that happened and etc. Despite, you know, people telling me that we're rivals and stuff, and this girl from Canada who was trying to kind of milk the situation and make me out to be such a bad person and such a bad light because I had happened to overreact when I wasn't well in my right of mind because of situations and things, some of the things that she had a hand in that kind of flipped and turned the situation. Um, so Joseph and I don't really talk face to face, but I mean, I finally let Joseph go because I decided, you know, enough's enough with all the lyrics about possible lyrics about me that either are somewhat so are meant to be possibly positive or meant to be like diss tracks or to really diss me and put me down. I don't really want to stick around for this, you know, especially because he has a kid and stuff, and he's kind of living his life with his family and stuff, and living his dreams. I mean, he's still somewhat. There's times where he can still somewhat be a great musician, but you know, some of his stuff and some of the ways he chooses to go about things, I don't really agree with, and I don't really agree with the way he kind of has happened to become. I mean, I kind of view him as a lot more human now compared to where I was probably back in 2008. I probably put him more on a pedestal in 2008 compared to 2020. Now that I've grown up in 2020, he's not so much on a pedestal, you know, he's not so much on a pedestal and stuff like that, but at the same time, I probably could have been on a pedestal for some people because at the same time, I probably could have met people like Patti Smith or, you know, I didn't get a chance to meet Patti Smith. I mean, I didn't get a chance to meet some of the Lonely Astronauts because some of the Lonely Astronauts didn't really, you know, stay after the show, and I didn't really know too many of the artists or etc. who were at Momar and stuff that were really good and stuff. I was kind of really shy and kind of in a closed off and not really as maybe outgoing as stuff as etc. as I should be, but um you know, I probably was in there with all the collectors and all the art collectors and all the celebrities and stuff, but some celebrities went certain days and some celebrities didn't go certain days, and some of the Lonely Astronauts went certain days. And actually, out of all the times that I went to see Joseph Arthur, I went to see Joseph Arthur for 4 different shows. I went to see Joseph Arthur for 4 different shows, and out of 2 of those shows, he painted on stage live. You know, he painted on stage live during 2 of those shows. One of those shows was with the Lonely Astronauts at the Bowery Ballroom, and then the first show I went to was at Momar. Probably when I think Could We Survive came out or something like that. It was either Could We Survive in Crazy. I think Could We Survive in Crazy Rain just came out for his 4 EPs, which were coming out right before the time of Temporary People, which was actually Temporary People is probably one of my most favorite albums. But you know, I'm trying not to listen to him too much anymore because in some cases, I respect some of his art, but I don't really totally respect the man he has become, you know? I don't fully respect the man he has become or what he's kind of valuing and stuff now and stuff like that. You know, Joseph Arthur has been very much talking about being anti-vaccination and really cautious about getting vaccinated and trying to talk about, you know, in being anti-vaccinated, and he's even trying to promote some of that horse-driven medicine for those people who actually have to take the horse, believe they have to take the horse-ridden medicine to feel better because that's going to help you out and etc. because you supposedly are going to have COVID and stuff like that, and the horse-ridden medicine is supposed to save you and a bunch of bullshit like that. But No, I was once really good friends, almost really good friends with Joseph Arthur, but I think it was time in my life, well overdue to let him go. I mean, it's a chapter that I should just close. Not necessarily because I want to just shut this girl up that keeps talking about me and the situation about, oh, he did this and this to Joseph. He's a bad person because he was rude to Joseph, and he said this, and he wasn't doing well, and he changed, or he got sick, or he got this and that. Granted, she was a big part of that, and she's gonna try to deny it and stuff, like she was so perfect and etc. But she really does have a lot of nerve to really, even come, even try to, even if she came back into my life, she would have a lot of nerve to even do so, because she was part of a chapter of my life that really had a lot of tolls on me, and it wasn't just the tolls of just losing Joseph Arthur. It was like losing a stepfather figure who was almost like really good, had really good ties to almost having me have like an actual family. Between me and my mom have a family, and I don't think my mom has been the same since, where she's been able to really get out and do stuff or have gone on too many dates and etc. because of the relationship that had ended and stuff like that. One thing I didn't get to tell my mental health workers about, which I need to write myself a note, is the fact that me and my cousin are no longer talking. I had a cousin at some point where the cousin showed up at my door, and it was actually connected. The only reason she's my cousin, or was considered like a cousin like figure, is because she showed up at my door and she had connections to this person that was almost like a stepfather figure to my life. But my mom never actually ended up marrying him. I think my mom actually never ended up going through with the engagement or the wedding, and called off the engagement or the wedding and stuff like that, especially after this whole Canada debate and stuff like that. But she's not my official cousin and stuff like that. But you know, I just haven't. I'm not talking to my cousin. She's in a whole other place. She's in a place where that people that I know certain people were used to be in at some point in time, that that doesn't really totally bring value to my life, and has a way of bringing chaos and kind of problems and kind of destruction to my life and my goals, because people want to act a certain way, people want to get all high on drugs, and people just don't give two fucks, and people are starting to act out a certain way or have to challenge and fight others because they feel inclined to, because that's how they want to feel, and that's what they feel is right for them. But that's kind of why I'm not talking to my cousin, because that's not really officially my cousin. That's more of like my ex stepdad's niece. So but I'm not talking to her. But Joseph and I are no longer friends. People get all confused, like, oh, Joseph Arthur is the trigger. Joseph Arthur is the trigger. Joseph Arthur was never the trigger. I got triggered by somebody completely different, which had connections to Joseph Arthur in a way, because they were another fan, and they were another somebody who actually really admired and wanted to honor him as well. But it was kind of almost like a Canadian and an American love story between a Canadian and an American that really wanted to become friends and become the best of friends and show love for Joseph Arthur and their favorite artist and in music in general, and the way of how it's expressed and etc. But it didn't work out the way it did, and basically it brought me down to like this some really bad psychosis and etc. Because I wasn't sleeping, and stuff, and I wasn't sleeping, and there was times where I was talking to this girl from like 8 p.m. to like 8 in the morning, like 8 p.m. to 8 in the morning overnight. I was talking to them through Skype and stuff. And I was having a conversation with them about life, and we were just talking, and there were times too where I was playing the sympathy card, and I learned sometimes when you play the sympathy card and you kind of talk about the negative when you're saying, oh, I was this way, or I was that way, or I've been through this, or I've been through that. That's usually a red flag. That's usually a red flag of like a toxic trait of bringing up some of your traumas and things to the situation, because it's like you want them to almost like trauma bond with you, and it's not a good thing, you know. I've learned a lot about trauma bonding too, but had nothing to do with a relationship with Joseph Arthur. But I guess in a way there was a little bit of me that was almost willing to trauma bond with this girl from Canada, and did not work out very well in my favor, you know. But then again, I think five to 6 years ago, I was talking to this girl in Torrington, and I almost just about trauma bonded or something with her, and I wanted to trust her completely, and I was almost willing to do so, and I almost did, but it just led us down a rabbit hole of extreme sexual fantasies and taboo and, you know, all kinds of crazy shit. So, you know, but I'm doing all right, though. I'm doing all right. I just wanted to say, you know, talk about Joseph Arthur tonight, because everybody wonders about Joseph Arthur, and I'm serious, and I actually am really serious. I mean, I guess I could always go back to, like, following him and stuff like that, but I don't want to, because he's going to go on with his life, and he's going to do what he wants to do. He's been around since the 90s. He's been around before I even was really you know, grown enough to really, you know, really grasp, you know, any type of relationship I would have had with him. He's been around for a very long time, you know. When I knew him back in 2008, he was only 30 years old, you know. He was only 30 years old in 2008, so, probably like his mid-30s, like maybe not even, but Joseph and I aren't really, you know, we're not really that friends like that. We used to be friends like that, but we're not friends like that. And before anything really was able to get off the ground and etc., Joseph and I weren't able to really do anything about that because of the situation with this girl from Canada, which blew up in my face. So, but no, there was a lot of toxicity and a lot of lessons I learned from this, but I finally learned to let a lot of it go, you know? I finally learned that Joseph's not really, if he's not really doing me any good, and he's kind of being creative about certain things, or trying to be creative about a couple of different things in some of his lyrics and stuff like that, then, you know, and kind of being kind of a shithead after he kind of said to me one thing like, oh, you know, I appreciate your love and support for my music and art, but then sometimes there's a song or two that pops up and it's like, oh, you know, it's a diss track, or it's something that's going to be disrespectful or kind of rude because now he thinks I have a personality disorder or whatever else he wants to talk about, because some like the last two or three of his records were about personality disorders and overcoming things with like his family and etc. because of different things and stuff like that. But you know, I don't have a personality disorder. I struggle with my identity a little bit, but that doesn't mean I have a personality disorder. And I only struggle with my identity a little bit is because I have moments where I I don't know. It's like when I change and stuff. I sometimes forget who I am, or who I once was, or where I am now, and who I'm becoming. It's like who I'm becoming, and when I become this person, it's like I change my identity a little bit, because it's like I'm like becoming a new person. You know, it's like your identity kind of changes when you change in a way. And it's not like, you know, you're having an identity crisis. It's just like you're changing with the times and like the circumstances and the, you know, the etc. So, but I just wanted to say that and get that off my chest. But Joseph Arthur and I are now no longer friends, and I don't think Joseph Arthur is going to be too much of an influence. But lucky for me, Jean or John Michel Basquiat is, which is an African American Asian painter that used to hang around with Andy Warhol. Mr. Basquiat, is definitely going to be more of an influence than Joseph Arthur. I mean, Joseph Arthur had an influence on some of my work as well, but I took Joseph Arthur off of there because Joseph Arthur really can't really. I don't know, just because of the strains of my relationship with him and stuff like that, and just because of the different things that had happened between the relationship and the times and the struggles, that I think it's finally time to really close that chapter a little bit. I mean, I don't know if I will, pick up a new record if he comes out with a new record and listen to it, but I don't know what I will do at this point. I mean, because I have a way of getting caught up in Joseph when I listen to his music, and it's just like I don't want to do that. He's not perfect. I know he's not perfect, but and then I listen to his music, and it's like I don't know, but the bottom line is Joseph Arthur's not perfect. I've learned that my idol, that which I once put on a pedestal, is no longer really worthy of that pedestal, and it's kind of really just a kind of sometimes a craphead and a human being that kind of is imperfect and etc. and really shouldn't be idolized or googly eyed or whatever else like some people might do. Or especially like this girl from Canada probably would have slept with him or etc. At this point, because I know she's like this girl from Canada was a manic and not manic depressive or nothing, but like a manic like in other words a manic like where she will sleep with all guys half her age and like grandfathers and stuff like that. I know what manics are too because I've learned I have like a really good knowledge for sexual and sexual preferences and stuff like that. But there's like this thing where this younger girl wants a guy half her age, almost like her grandfather's age, because she's like manic and etc. So that's pretty much what this girl from Canada turned out to be, which is like a really kind of a weird slap in the face. But that's kind of also why she was eyeing Joseph, because Joseph was always the older one, and he was always the one that people believed had more talent and etc. I mean, there's a lot of people that look at me now and kind of realize the things that I've done and the things that I'm doing as an artist and etc. and saying, oh wow, he's actually going somewhere. He's actually getting someplace and etc. Oh, look at him now. And some people want to come back into my life and try to come back and latch onto that, but not a lot of people are going to be successful for trying to latch onto me again and come back into my life after they see my progress and all the work I've been doing, especially without them in my life and etc. I'm not looking for certain people to come back. I'm not looking for a pity party. I'm not looking to rekindle certain relationships of the past. Personally, I'm looking to restart something new for the future with a whole new relationship and a whole new scenario and situation. I want to start with something fresh and different. But my phone's on 15%, so I'm gonna just cut this conversation short. But I just wanted to say what I had to say, and that's pretty much all I can really say is that Joseph Arthur really, he's not really perfect, and I could have hung out with Lou Reed. I probably could have hung out with Peter Gabriel. I could have probably hung out with Mike Mills and Peter Buck and Michael Stipe and people. Some people he kind of knew later on. After the pretty much or after the fallout and etc. But Joseph's an idiot. Joseph's an idiot. And Joseph actually was one of the first Libras that let me down this year. He was one of the first Libras to let me down this year. I was let down by a couple of Libras this year, but actually a couple of them I'm still going to keep around. But, Joseph Arthur, I'm not going to keep around, though. I think I decided to just put Joseph Arthur and kind of remove him from my life because it's time for him to go. But a couple other Libras and stuff are really kind of connected to my artist career and stuff like that, and they're very, they're still very good people and stuff, and I'm glad that they at least told me the truth, that, to not get my hopes and stuff up. They just don't have the time for me. They really just don't have the time and the effort for me and etc. So I'm glad they at least told me the truth and kind of not make me sit here like I like googly eyed and stuff like that. Like I'm sitting here like with my my hopes and my dreams all out on my sleeve and trying to follow them to the ends of the earth. I'll still be involved in what they have to do and etc. But it's just that I'm not gonna be maybe as 100% always involved with what they do, but I'll still get involved with what they do and still support them, because they can still, they can still be a source for me as a publisher and as a writer and stuff like that. So I'm still going to be really good, connections to them. But as far as Joseph was the first catalyst of Libras this year that kind of knocked off a whole situation with a couple of Libras that I know of that just disappointed me this year. Air signs disappointed me this year a little bit. So I used to know a couple of Aquariuses too that disappointed me. I used to know some Tauruses. Tauruses were the first sign that really disappointed me, and I was always had this stigma with Tauruses. But I guess me and my mom have an okay relationship at times, and she's a Taurus, so Tauruses and Sagittariuses sometimes bump heads and stuff, but sometimes people say Tauruses and Sagittariuses can get along. It's just like they need to really try to work out their differences and try to smooth some things around and stuff like that. But as far as love, I mean, you can't have a love relationship with a Taurus because I don't know. It's just like we're two separate people. We're bound to go two separate ways and have two separate views of opinions and how to do things. So, but I've learned a lot about air signs. I've learned a lot about earth signs. I do okay with Gemini. Gemini and I do okay. Gemini is like my polar opposite. My polar opposite to my Sagittarius is a Gemini, and Geminis and I do pretty well. As far as our relationships, but Taurus is not so much. And Capricorns are sometimes a hit or miss. I mean, my stepfather figure, who I don't have in my life anymore, he used to be a Capricorn. He was all right. There were moments and times with him where I didn't like him bitterly because of the way he acted or the way he kind of addressed things or etc. But Capricorns, I've kind of like tried to approach a couple of Capricorns. The Capricorns kind of are, sometimes they're kind of shitheads, but sometimes Capricorns can be all right. But it all depends. But I don't know. Not to get into a horoscope view here, but I'm actually gonna get offline because my phone's on 15%. But bottom line is, I'm just not going to talk about Joseph Arthur anymore. I'm going to try to give him a lot of down and cut off space from any portion of my life. I mean, I still have his poetry book and stuff, but I'm not going to I don't know if I'll invest any more into his art and stuff because I want to invest more into my friends and my local friends and local business and invest into my artwork and etc. And invest into my life compared to his or sometimes I gotta look at my life and say, am I gonna invest in any other artist's life or am I gonna invest in my life? Because sometimes it's more like you gotta invest more into your life instead of the artist, because artists are people too, and artists can have a way of letting you down and disappointing you, Can't say for sure either that I agree with some of the artists that I totally want to support and stuff here in town, but I do try to show them a lot of respect and stuff because I try to level with them and see eye to eye a little bit, but I'm still independent and stuff, and I know some of them are more liberal or some of them are more Democratic, and right now Democratic and Republican are not my most favorite people, so I just probably gonna go into those clashes of opinions because I'm not totally fully fully with certain opinions or certain values that get preached between the Democrats and the Republicans right now. So, especially with Joseph Arthur. But hey, anyways, peace.